Bonjour tout le monde, jodi a se vendredi, il disait, et puis top conversation a kabaoya. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, 10 a.m., and it's time for Rum Shop Talks, and we are back in the Rum Shop today. And for today's show, we are going to do a couple of things. We will be making you guys a drink. It's called White Lightning. It should be made with Bounty White, but since I don't have Bounty White, we'll be doing a couple of substitutes here. Um, and the cool thing, I think, what really drew me to this drink is that it's served in a calabash. And so, luckily, I have one, and we'll be serving our drink in there. We'll also be talking about St. Lucian politics. So, on Monday, the 26th, St. Lucia actually had its general elections. And so I figured we'd talk a little bit about what that process looked like. And then finally, we will be talking about estate planning tips for immigrants. And so this is a packed show. So we're going to get started. The recipe for the White Lightning is up on your screen. As always on Rum Shop, we don't test out our recipes until we make them with you guys. And so we'll see how that goes. And of course, I'm gonna be a little bit like silly and vain and say I'm debuting my new haircut. I actually went in for a trim and came out with this. But I have to tell you, I absolutely love my short curly hair, so I'm super stoked with that. All right, now past my vain moment, my kids are actually laughing out back there. I'm gonna start talking about our drink, and we're gonna make the drink. And while I make the drink, we're gonna be talking about St. Lucian politics. All right, so. For this drink, we have our white rum. Like I said, the recipe calls for Bounty rum, white, but since I didn't have it, I'm just going to sub for Bacardi Superior. We have some lime juice, passion fruit pulp, simple syrup, and of course some lime slices to garnish, and our trusty little shaker. And for the passion fruit pulp, the recipe actually called for a passion fruit. And since I couldn't find one, I figured the pulp is just as good, especially because the pulp is just the passion fruit without the seeds. So let's get started. We're going to pop some ice. Excuse me. Wrong side. I don't want to cough into the mic. We are going to pop some ice in our shaker. All right. So like I mentioned, St. Lucia just had its general elections on Monday. What's cool, St. Lucia is actually has two major, and I say major because there's more, but two major political parties. The St. Lucia Labour Party, SLP, or the United Workers' Party, UWP. Those two parties are signified with colors, and so St. Lucia Labour Party, they signify red. Do not read into my red shirt. And then the United Workers' Party uses yellow to signify the color. The United Workers' Party also uses the torch, the flambeau, as their symbol. And I don't know why I don't. Oh, the SLP, St. Lucia Labour Party, uses a star as their symbol as well. There's also the NGP, which I think for me, it was like this year was my first year actually recognizing that was a political party in St. Lucia. So I'm not sure what NGP means. If anyone, my mom or my sisters, if they're on there, I'll ask them to tell us what NGP means. Anywho, the last election cycle, the United Workers' Party was in power. Our prime minister, St. Lucia has a prime minister, not a president, so our prime minister was Kenny Anthony. No, wrong. That was like 2 cycles ago. Alan Chasney. You can see how closely I follow St. Lucian politics. So the last election cycle, we had Alan Chasney, who was the party leader as our prime minister. And so St. Lucia actually breaks down, the island is broken down into voting districts. And so you'd vote, similar to here, you'd vote your district. And it's the whole island. You can actually look it up and see what the map is. I probably should have popped it up for you guys. I'm going to talk and do this, but let me just go measure out some of these ingredients. So we are using our 2-ounce shot glass, and we're going to start off with our passion fruit pulp right here. See how rich and orange this is, and so thick. 2 ounces of that in here. We're gonna do 2 ounces of the lime juice, freshly squeezed lime juice right here. There we go. And then we're gonna do 2 ounces of the simple syrup. Right. There we go. Oh, and I forgot the most important ingredient, our rum. We're gonna drop 2 ounces of that rum in there. And yes, I haven't actually cracked open that bottle yet, so brand new. Whew. There we go. All right, so we're gonna go back to our topic at hand. So yeah, so the elections were called. They happened on Monday, and the St. Lucia Labour Party ended up winning with a landslide. And so what's really cool is whoever the leader of the party is, that's who becomes prime minister. So the new prime minister of St. Lucia, who was sworn in on Wednesday, his name is Philip Joseph Pierre. And it'll be really interesting to see what a new political party and a new prime minister means for St. Lucia. St. Lucia's political landscape actually was a remnant of being a British colony. So hence the prime minister. And a lot of Caribbean islands actually do have similar political landscapes because they were also British colonies as well. So it's very interesting. Even after all this time, we see a lot of our culture, and you see a lot of the derivative being from the European countries that colonized us. So that is your little St. Lucia political history for today. I'm just going to give that little drink a shake here, and then we're going to hop into our legal portion of the show. That's my nod to trying to be a real bartender. So here we go. We're going to pour that in our calabash. I'm just going to put a little bit more ice in there. And then maybe I'll just pour the whole thing in there, I think. So legal portion of today. We're talking about immigrant tips for immigrants. And the reason why I picked this topic is because I actually helped a lady this week from Jamaica. And it just got me thinking, a lot of my viewers are from the Caribbean. I'm also from the Caribbean. And one of the things that people from the Caribbean who immigrate out of the country, into another country, one of the things they deal with is beyond dual citizenship and nationality and all that kind of stuff is owning property in multiple countries and having to figure out estate planning with regard to not just one, but two countries can be complicated. And for a lot of people, they do nothing because they don't know what they should do. So I figured we'll just answer 3 questions that I see come up a lot. The first question that we will be answering is, if you live in the United States and you haven't really accumulated any assets to you, but you have assets in a foreign country, should you do an estate plan in the United States or your country of residence right now? So that could be, the United Kingdom, wherever you are located. Should you, right? And I did this for the lady, my client that I just helped. She had property. This was exactly her scenario. She had property in Jamaica, and not really much here. And it's like, should she? And the answer is yes. So one of the things that you want to make sure that you have in your estate plan is a will, because you do want to, even if you don't have a house and you haven't you don't have millions of assets, you still have some stuff here that you would want to tell people who is going to inherit it. So at the minimum, you should have a will, living directions on how your property should be, whatever property you have in the United States should be, how they should be distributed. The second thing, and it's like the second things, and so important for you to have when you are residing in a country that is not your country of origin, are incapacity documents. You want to make sure, especially if you're here alone, you want to make sure that you are designating people to act on your behalf if you are becoming incapacitated. Your power of attorney and your advance of care directive, HIPAA authorizations, you should have those. So for all of my adult immigrant people out there, you should have those three things done. Who's gonna make decisions for you if you're incapacitated financially? Who's gonna take care of you medically if you were in a hospital or incapacitated? And do they have the power to access your medical records to take care of you? So that's what those three documents would do. So at the minimum, you should have a will. What you have something. How is it going to be distributed and to whom? And you also want to make sure that if you're in the hospital, incapacitated, or for whatever reason, unable to manage your affairs, you've got someone appointed or people appointed to do that for you. Okay? So you don't, even if you're like, you know what, I'm here and I'm renting, I should not do anything. I say, for those reasons that I just gave, you should do something. And that is the minimum that you should do. So the number 2 question, and I can't really see it here, but I'm kind of trying to remember what it was. The second question that we wanted to talk about, and it may not be in order, is what if you have an estate plan in a foreign country? Should you have an estate plan in the United States? And the answer to that is yes. It's like the rules in this country is, if you've got an estate plan from a different state and you move to a different state. So I live in California. I have a California estate plan. I moved to New York. New York is supposed to actually give my California estate plan the same kind of treatment as if my estate plan was created in New York, right? The same respect. And we have those rules within states. However, the same doesn't apply to countries. So having an estate plan in a foreign country and coming to the United States, you're going to want to make sure that you have, at least, as we just talked about, those documents that we talked about set up in the United States, to make sure that those things are taken care of for you. And the third question is, how should I approach any property in a foreign country? So if I live in America and I have property in St. Lucia, which my family does, and I know a lot of immigrants who do, how should I handle it? Like, what should I do? And I recommend that if you have property in a different country, you should be talking to an attorney in that country to make sure that the property that you have in that country, even if you have an estate plan in the United States, that you're making sure that the property that you have in that country is covered. You can create an estate plan here that says, I leave all of my assets wherever located to my children, for example. However, we don't know if the country where the property is held is going to actually respect that estate plan that you have in America. So it gets a little complicated when you're straddling countries and you are creating, amassing wealth in both countries. The best thing to do is to make sure that you have 2 estate plans, one for your U.S. property and one for your international property as well. We see it so often, and I don't know if you guys remembered when my mom was our guest on Rum Shop. We talked about our own family having property and all that chaos and what that looked like. A lot of families have those issues, and a lot of those issues stem from, I live in a foreign country, but I left my property in my birth country, and I don't have an estate plan, and so that property is going through that country's probate process, whatever that looks like. And let's be honest, like I don't even know what St. Lucia's probate process is. That's on my to-do list next time I go home to kind of actually do some research about that. But I imagine that, it's like every country has its own systems. And therefore, it's equally important to make sure that you are aware of what your country's inheritance rules are, and that you are doing what you need to do to ensure that your foreign property is just as protected as your U.S. property. And because we U.S. attorneys, unless we're licensed in another country, we can't really do estate planning for you for property that's in that country. That is the reason why you need to have an attorney in that country help. And I'm not beyond, if you had an attorney, I'm not beyond talking to that attorney and helping you figure things out. And I know a lot of attorneys that, like my colleagues, we do the same thing. We do it for people with property outside of California. So when I have a client with property outside of California, I don't leave the client to deal with that themselves. I am talking to an attorney in that state, making sure that the assets are covered. We are willing to do the same thing for you if you've got property in an international country. But we recognize that the things that we do here are insufficient. And so to recap, I'm going to recap and then I'm going to pour a drink. To recap, if you are in this country and you think, I don't have any assets, should I have an estate plan? The answer is yes. In the minimum, you should have a will, power of attorney, advance of care directive, HIPAA authorization. Make sure that if you die, people know what to do with the stuff you do have here. And also, if you become incapacitated, you've got people set up to take care of you. Especially, like I said, if you are in this country without close family and friends, right? Thing number two, if you have an estate plan in a foreign country, you should definitely do one in the United States to make sure that your United States property is covered. You want to secure your property on all fronts. And of course, if you have property in a foreign country, you want to make sure that you are talking to someone there to ensure that that property is covered. We want to make sure that all of our bases, this is why estate planning is comprehensive, because you want to make sure that all your bases are covered, no matter where they are, no matter what they are. We want to make sure they're protected and that they're going to the right people in the manner in which you would like them to inherit. So hopefully for my immigrant people out here, this was helpful for you, and it is encouraging you to take action. You know how hard it is for us to accumulate wealth. And so often the reason why we leave our country of birth to come to a foreign country is because we're trying to create wealth for ourselves, a better life for ourselves, for our family. If you are in the position where you're creating that, you do not want to lose it. You do not want to watch all that hard work go to waste. And often enough, if there's not estate planning in place, that wealth gets lost in usually the first generation to inherit it. So let's not continue that trend. Let's be better and let's get our estate planning done. That wraps up our legal portion of the day, and I am going to pour out this white lightning and let's see how it tastes. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. This, you guys, looks beautiful with the passion fruit in there and the lime. We're going to garnish with some lime slices right here. It was really, I loved watching the bartender do this because he was so precise with how he placed his lime slices in his calabash. And I've got a teeny little straw here because, you know, I could just like drink from the calabash. I'm trying to be like, you know, I'm trying to like be a little bit proper here. So I'm going to have my teeny little straw. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. It is sweet and tart. You taste the lime and the passion fruit, and they just, like, I could still taste the passion fruit on the back of my tongue. And it's not an offensive taste. I like that. And the citrus just like wakes up the passion fruit in there. It is a beautiful drink. And the dangerous part is I'm not tasting that rum. And we know whenever you're not tasting the rum, when I put 2 ounces of it in there, it's a dangerous drink. You guys, I'm gonna enjoy a little bit more of my white lightning. I do hope you guys try it out. Like I said, it is intended to be made with Bounty White, but I am just using whatever white rum I have because, as you guys know, sourcing Caribbean rums is difficult, especially in California. So you got to do what you got to do with what you have. Ooh, I just popped my straw. You guys, thank you so much. This was a longer show than we usually have. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a beautiful day, a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Rum Shop Talks. Bye.